Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 297. This edition of Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com. I have the great and powerful Paige Seek back here with us here. Talk about what's going on in the world of the Axon Tire world, man. So how you doing, Paige?
I'm doing good. I don't know about great and powerful though, but
you're like a whatever you call a female wizard. I don't know what they call that, but that's kind of what you are.
I don't know
Casting
what they call
spells.
them there. I just try to keep these guys in line. That's what I try to do.
Yeah,
until we know it.
Job, yeah.
Nicely. I try to do it nicely.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, well, my mom tried that too and it didn't work out very well. So
yeah. Well. No, but I'm doing good. We have a couple really good guests on the podcast today, so I'm really excited for all that they're going to share.
Right on. So who we have this week?
So we have Mike Lewis, who is the client advisor for the Western Territory. And then we also have our first timer, Mr. Nick Holt, first time on the podcast, and he's one of our sales managers here at Axon. So a lot of good information from both of these guys today.
Right on, man. Looking forward to the conversation. Nick, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Right on. So lots of stuff happening out there right now, folks. So we've got end of the year coming up. We've got supply chain issues, which that hasn't changed. I'm sure that's not going to change anytime soon. Looking around right now, Paige, as you take a look at what's happening, what's going on the marketing side of Axon, and what are you guys preparing for here as we head into the end of the year?
Mostly just events. Yeah. I think we got a lot of events coming up in 2023, which is great. As far as the inventory side of things, it's really hard in marketing to prepare for what we're going to market when we're not sure when we're going to get product, just with the supply chain. So we've been working really close with our purchasing department on inventory and, what we're going to have when and what we can promote when, but it's just been busy getting ready for 2023, all the events, and then talking about campaigns that we're going to run. And inventory is really the name of the game in marketing right now, which is so weird, but yeah, it's been,
you wouldn't think that'd be that much of an 0issue, but it really truly is. It's hard to market something.
Yeah, it affects all departments, which is wild, but
it's hard to know what to do when you don't know what to do. So
that's very true.
very, very hard. All right, Mike.
It's a question. Sorry, it's a question that comes up often with our customers too. Do you guys have any inventory? We say we've got plenty of inventory, just not sure if it's what you want.
Right. Yeah, we run into that same situation as well. It's we have everything but what you want sometimes, and it's a tough thing to do. So, Nick, let's just talk about that a little bit. So, when you're working with customers right now, and you're working with your sales team, what are some of the big headwinds that you're running into right now? I mean, obviously inventory, but I mean, what are some other the big headwinds that you're facing right now, or you're preparing for?
Yeah, on the inventory side, it's forecasting is our biggest, knowing what what the dealers are going to be looking for, what the farmers are going to need in the next few years. And as some of these, suppliers, equipment suppliers are producing equipment and they're trying to keep their assembly lines rolling, and they have their orders in with their vendors on all their components to keep that machine rolling down the assembly line. And sometimes they get to the end of the line and they may not have the correct tires that's on the order sheet for that dealer, and so they put something on and keep it moving because they can't slow down the line, right? So they just got to keep it rolling. So we're bumping into some of that, but how to project that going in forward, because our vendors, we got anywhere from 4 months to 18-month lead time on some items. It's you got to have a lot of wizardry to try to get that answer for what you're going to sell 18 months from now. But we got a lot of history. We're nearly 100 years old, so we got a lot to build on, but it's still a bit of a guessing game.
So I was talking with a gentleman this morning about that very thing, about data and what that looks like. And you have your pre-COVID data, you have your during COVID data, and you have your post-COVID data, and those three things kind of marry together and what they look like. And each one of those data points are distinctly different because of delays, customers changing what they're doing, all those different factors that come into play. When you're looking at that data, Nick, are you seeing some similar trend lines developing that are different than the normal?
Yeah, there are some variations. I don't have a specific right on me at the moment, but there are some variations that some items that we haven't sold for 2 or 3 years that all of a sudden they're becoming popular. You may say that,
Right.
got more than, several customers asking for it, but um, in general, everything's trending up.
Right.
So there's definitely the industry needs to keep moving, right? There's still farms to farm, and you can't do it without equipment and people. So
Right.
We got to keep feeding the world. So that's a positive thing. And for one reason or another, farmers need to replace their equipment, whether it's getting old or,
Sure.
in certain, out here we have the acronym is CARB, CARB, which is California Air Resources Board.
Right.
And they keep coming up with new regulations to, make sure we're not putting too many pollutions into the air. So you got rid of old equipment. So there's, got to roll it in, roll it out on. There's all these reasons farming's going to continue to move and going to continue to evolve and continue to increase.
Yep. Yeah. It's a never changing world, man. I tell you what, especially what you're talking about there on the carb regulations, that's a big, big deal. Because it's sometimes I think they make regulations for the regulations that they make. So it's a never evolving animal for sure. Mike, when you're out talking to customers that you're talking with, I mean, what are you seeing out there right now?
Excuse me. You brought it up a few times, and I know that people always say, "Oh, we don't have any equipment, and Deere's behind, and Casey's behind, and all these other guys are just behind. We're not getting equipment." And the first thing they flip back to me is, "Well, how are you guys doing for wheels and tires?" And I always just go, "Well, I got tons of stuff," and I know Nick drew it in right at the start. I got millions of dollars worth of product in multiple warehouses across the U.S. but is it what you want? And you mentioned post-COVID, pre-COVID, we could pretty much say to our customers any given time, if I don't have it, it's going to be with me in 3 months. Absolute tops. We can't say that anymore.
Right.
It's a different era, like Nick said. It could be 18 months now, and so when calls come in, they're asking for specifics on some specific setup, whether it's got to be a clearance issue or row spaced or whatever it is. We look in our inventory, and if we don't have it, we're like, I just don't know when I can deliver that product a lot of the time.
Right.
And it's not all bad. We can sometimes find products, and we will do that for customers. That's the big thing that we have done, and we've been pretty successful at that. So that's the big question: is when is it available? It's not how much is it. It's when is it available, and a lot of other questions. Can we do something different? People are prepared to look outside the box and do something creative to actually get a tractor in the field.
Yep.
And take a product that they maybe never would have dreamed of pre-2020. So, and hence we've grown in other brands of tires. People that may have been a diehard Michelin or a Firestone guy, they're prepared to take something that's alternative to that.
Right. Yep. And we're seeing that same thing too, where there's more and more people that, like you said, they're just, what does it take for us to get to where we need to be at? I mean, what are we doing? How do we get there? What are my options and what do they look like? And like I tell the guys I work with, if you give them two options and neither one of them are that good, you still gave them two options, right? They just don't have a option. They've got two maybe horrible options, but there are still two options there to pick from. So it's a never evolving thing. And to your point, staying on top of what's going on and seeing how those things are going to work and play together. It's still a crapshoot as to when you can or can't get something done.
Exactly. And we often talk about 5 things or 6 things out there that are the biggest restraints right now, and you drew attention to interest rates. That's going to be a big one. The cost of equipment's a big one. Cost of fertilizer and seeds, another big one. Cost of fuel is another big one. And out here we have another big one, which is the allocation of water, and we're seeing that so much. And you could say, well, these are all negative things, and they're all going against the farmer. But then we can come in and say, yeah, supply chain is an issue, but we're going to do everything we can do to help you, A, with your cost, B, with your delivery times, and we're going to do what we can to get equipment in the field. However fast, we'll go look for it. So, and I know that dealers are doing the same thing. They're scrabbling everywhere looking for equipment. They're finding it on auctions. They're finding it at different dealers. They're doing trades and swaps, and it's working out.
Yeah, cooperation's been highly adaptive, more so than we've seen in the past. So definitely talk a little bit. Mike and Nick, both of you guys jump in here on this one. As you guys are looking at the water situation in California and in Washington, Oregon as well, and I guess everywhere across the whole western part of the United States, I guess you can kind of lump that all together, but more so in California. What are you seeing right now? Are you starting to see any kind of weather pattern change where you're starting to see some more rains come through the area?
Well, for a start, my name is not Sean Hackett. I can't help with that one.
You do listen. Look at that.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah. We're not on here as often as he is, and I did listen to some of his stuff at Nashville, and it's really, really good stuff. Having said that, we are seeing not really any change to the patterns of water. I think the biggest issue is storage, right. And a lot of wastage goes on. So is you see signs out on the freeways, it's not necessarily lack of water, it's political. I don't want to get into that today on the podcast, but the Colorado River is genuinely a lot down, so that hits Southern California and obviously the Yuma area fairly aggressively. Northern California has been hit this year. There just isn't the water in the river to supply all the rice guys. So the farmers do scream, they yell, and they want more water. Is it available? Well, unfortunately, human beings do come first, and then obviously growing. I think they have given allocation to farmers, and number one is livestock, number two is permanent crops, and number three is your cereal or your replacement crops. So, and a permanent crop would be a tree or a vine, which takes many years to grow, and then obviously your rolling crops, they can supply that as number three. So are we going to see any changes? I don't know that we're going to necessarily see any changes this year. We just need a really great snowfall. That'll really help the situation. Yeah, that's all I can say on it. Nick might be able to chime in.
No, we did have a sprinkling of rain about a month ago, and they were hoping that there'd be more behind it, but now they're talking about it's still going to be dry here. But you've got Southern California and Arizona, and there've been some freak kind of storms roll through there, and they dump all this rain all at once. And as Mike says, the storage is the issue because it just runs off and doesn't have time to soak in. And I think even Washington, Oregon have been dry, and some of the other states. But yeah, we need so that we definitely need more water, more rain. But snow, typically for the western regions, snow is where we our best way to store it. So if we can get some kind of snowpack in this year, it'd be good. But the allocations typically in California are, I think, February, March, April when they run their final allocations for the year. So got a bit of time to see what happens this year.
Yeah. That's, the same thing. I could live in that world of allocation as well. When you look at water and those kind of things, and we're dependent on storage as well. And we have a lot of ditch irrigation that we use out here, and there's about seven reservoirs that are up in the Wyoming side of the Rockies there, and they're making their way down. So, and we had a pretty lackluster amount of snow last year, so hopefully that changes around this year, because if it doesn't, we're going to be in a really, really bad situation. So knock on wood, hope things come together well for us all there. End of the year's coming up. We got a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of headwinds ahead of us as far as what that looks like. You mentioned inputs and stuff like that. This, when harvest gets done, it's typically a put stuff back in the shed and get it ready for the following year. And I guess as folks are looking at updating some tires and those kind of things on various machines, what advice do you have for them, and how do you see that going forward here into 23?
Yeah, Casey, that's an interesting one, and of course we often hear the term Section 179, and the guys will want to write off taxes, and can we help with that? Well, if you're buying a tractor and you want some different wheels and tires on it, we're going to do our best to absolutely help you. We realize they've got to be delivered before the end of December, so we'll do our best to make sure that you're going to get your tractor in the field and paid for prior to the end of the year, so we can help with that tax situation. Yeah, it's a challenge though, and delivery times are short, and is there equipment available for these guys?
Yep.
They're wanting to update, and I know it came in Nashville. What are guys going to do? How can they do it?
Yep. Nick, what are you seeing?
I was just going to say, sometimes in some of our southern regions, they don't have time to put the tractors in for the winter. They might have a weekend here, a weekend there,
Right.
but when you're
Right.
when you're running 365,
Yep.
they don't have that luxury. But some of the northern territories would, are planning ahead, and we've been talking to the guys. Really, 2022 has been I was going to say a year of culture change, you might say, where we're trying to get our guys to think further ahead. It's not what we want to do. We didn't plan it this way, but we're having to think further ahead. And so we're just trying to work with our, dealer partners and even the farmers. And I think the message is getting out there. We're just got to look further ahead, guys, and plan ahead. So, really, this next few months in 2022, you're looking into 23. Really, what are your needs going to be? What are what kind of equipment are you needing to replace next year? Because let's start getting it on the books, from the tractor dealer perspective and equipment dealer perspective, and all the components that run down stream from that. Your GPSs, your attachments. You hear stories about loaders and some attachments and implements that are really long lead times too. So it's a different culture we're in. So we gotta adapt, and that's what we're trying to do. Even though we takes a while to turn the boat sometimes, but doing our best.
That's a big one that we tell our customers when we're out there in the field, Casey, is you place an order for a brand new tractor and it's got a customer's name on it, and you can't get the tire and wheel package you want. That tractor's coming in June. You tell me right away. You let me know. You get that order placed with me so that we can deliver the product when your tractor arrives.
Right.
Otherwise, you might actually miss the boat. We don't want you to be in that situation that, wow, finally my tractor's arrived, or my combine, or my sprayer, or whatever it is, grain cart, and I can't take it because it doesn't have the wheels and tires I need now.
Yep. And I'll throw this out there. Even in the situation that we're in, it seems like it's a long ways away, but sprayer floater season, for top dressing wheat and those kind of things, that's not all that far away. I mean, we're talking, here we are in September, or I guess it's October now. We're in October, and we're, October, November, December, January, February, you're in that season. So you're 5 months out, 6 months out, depending on where you're at. If you're down south in the very southern part of the United States, you're 2 or 3 months out, from that being something that you're going to do. So a lot of moving parts here, a lot of forward thinking needs to start playing out. And if you need some tires and rims, this is a time for you to start thinking about that. For sure. All right. Paige is my favorite part of the podcast right here. This is what I got some deerskin gloves last month. So what am I getting this month?
Well, Casey, since we've only been doing the deerskin gloves, I think we're gonna, for a week, I think was the last podcast. I think we're just gonna keep doing them. I
like that.
I know, I do too. Even though I can't claim that I shot the deer that the deerskin gloves are made out of. They're still really good quality. So
you have to, you just should claim that though.
I should. Maybe
there it is.
I don't know. Thanks. There you go, Mike.
There you go. Mike's got them out there. Those are pretty sweet gloves.
Those look great. So yeah, go ahead and contact us if you want some deerskin gloves. But really good giveaway. And Casey, I do want to mention, just with events going into 2023, any of your audience listening, if you guys didn't have a chance to go to the Moving Iron Summit this year, definitely put on your calendar for next year, because 1, it's a great event, and 2, we give away lots of cool stuff. So if you don't get a podcast giveaway, then we better see you in Nashville next year.
And on top of that, for the first 150 people, Axon Tire is going to give $50 discount to all those folks. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. That's a big deal. So if you're interested in coming, you're on the fence, now you have 50 good reasons to come on over. So check that out.
Yep.
All right. Paige, Mike, Nick, guys, anything last thoughts you want to throw out before we close it down?
I was just going to say, you're talking about 2023. One thing that's been on the news recently is California AB 2183 Assembly Bill for the Farm Workers Union. It removes a secret ballot. I know there's a lot of stuff, a lot of changes going out there in our territory too. Mike's noticed, small farmers selling out to corporations, so the things are changing. Corporations do, farming a little different than a mom and pop guy would. Be an interesting ride. A lot of new robotic stuff coming out.
Yeah.
Autonomous equipment coming out.
Lots of that stuff. Yeah.
I think 2023 will be an interesting year to jump on and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. We're in that I think that period of time when we'll look back and say, this is when things changed, this 20 to 23 change, not just because of all the stuff with COVID and everything else we got going on now, but it's going to be a very distinctive point in time when we can step back and point and say, hey, look, this was kind of, people still had to drive stuff back then in the cab. You know what I mean?
But it takes something like COVID, doesn't it?
It does.
To actually, that type of major shift in the industry, and it forces you to step back and look at the way you did things then or before that. Is there a different way to do it going forward? And so it's brought out a lot of opportunity. A lot of think tanks have been busy and creating a new universe, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really come a long ways as far as how people view things now. It's totally different. So,
and don't forget, Casey, pencil Tulare in this year.
Oh yeah, Tulare. I'm gonna try to make that one for sure. I've always wanted to go to that show anyway, and plus I get to go to California. So what more fun could you make, right? All right.
World Ag Expo.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good one. That's one of the ones that I want to make. So I'll put that one on my calendar for sure.
That was my second favorite show from last year, or from this year, after the Moving Iron Summit.
There you go.
Oh, Paige, come on.
Even Paige is wearing the shirt though. She's rocking. She's a homer today. I like that.
World Ag Expo, they didn't give me a t-shirt.
Well, Paige, that's like wearing a Huskers shirt when the Hawkeyes are playing.
Oh, don't even go there, Mike. Don't even go there. I love my Hawkeyes, even though it's been a tough year.
It's been a tough year for a lot of folks. So
that's true.
Yeah, leave it that way. All right, Nick, if folks want to reach out and get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Toll free number 877-536-3276.
Right on. Mike, how do they get a hold of you?
Probably best, honestly, is email. I can give away all kinds of phone numbers and stuff, but if you email me at mike.lewis@axontire.com, which is mike.lewis@axontire.com.
And Paige, for some of your wizardry, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
It's going to be marketing@axontire.com.
Right on.
Can't promise anything there, Casey, but
right on.
Marketing tips.
There you go. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys being on the podcast and the partnership that we have here.
Thanks, Casey.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Make sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron Podcast. You can also go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast, and you can go to the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel, cleverly named. Use some of that marketing tips from Paige there on better way to market that YouTube channel, but check that out and you'll see all the video version of this podcast here. And you can also go to MovingIronLLC.com for everything Moving Iron related. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Nick, Mike, and Paige. Smooth Smart folks out.
Moving higher in the 21st century.